Welcome to Mapping Minerals Diplomacy, an explainer series that brings clarity to the deals, players, and policies shaping the global race for critical minerals. I'm your host, Gracelin Baskaran, Director of the Critical Minerals Security Program at CSIS. Today, we begin with Saudi Arabia, a country rapidly emerging as a central player in the next generation of mineral supply chains. As the global race for rare earths and strategic minerals intensifies, the United States and Saudi Arabia are forging a new era of cooperation, centered not on oil, but on mineral security. This partnership is designed to reduce global dependence on China, diversify supply chains, and build long-term industrial resilience among allies. President Trump's first state visit was to the kingdom, where the two governments signed a landmark memorandum of cooperation on energy and minerals. This partnership isn't new, but it is evolving. Natural resources have always underpinned this bilateral relationship. Born in the aftermath of World War II, the alliance was built on the essential nexus of oil and security. In 1945, President Franklin D. Roosevelt and King Abdulaziz bin Saud met aboard the USS Quincy, forging the landmark Oil for Security Partnership. The United States would provide military protection in exchange for reliable access to Saudi oil reserves. Through the 1970s and 1980s, American companies invested heavily in Saudi Arabia's oil sector, solidifying deep commercial ties. In the decades that followed, Saudi Arabia remained one of the United States' top oil suppliers. The U.S.-Saudi relationship has stood as one of the most consequential energy partnerships of the past century. But in 2016, the kingdom launched Vision 2030, an ambitious economic transformation strategy aimed at reducing its dependence on oil. At the core of that strategy is a massive expansion of mining and mineral processing, both at home and abroad. In May 2025, during President Trump's visit to Riyadh, the mineral partnership took a major step forward with the signing of a landmark MOU between US-based MP Materials and the Saudi Arabian mining company, also known as Maaden, to develop a mine-to-magnet supply chain. As Washington seeks to reduce reliance on China, the US-Saudi Critical Minerals Partnership offers four key strategic advantages. First, Saudi Arabia is making serious upstream bets through bold investments in exploration. Let's turn to the data. The value of Saudi Arabia's domestic mineral reserves has increased significantly thanks to domestic exploration. In 2016, Saudi Arabia's mineral reserves were valued at $1.3 trillion. However, less than a decade later, by 2024, this figure nearly doubled to $2.5 trillion of resources. This includes significant rare earth deposits critical to defense, energy, and a variety of other economically important uses like semiconductors. In 2024, the kingdom ranked amongst the world's top destinations for exploration. There's been a significant increase from $22.8 million of exploration investment in 2017 to over $140 million in 2024, marking one of the biggest exploration jurisdictions in the world. Meanwhile, the number of exploration licenses surged nearly fourfold, from 224 in 2015 to 816 in 2023. Reflecting an aggressive push to unlock Saudi Arabia's resource base. Second, Saudi Arabia is positioning itself as a world-class mineral processing hub. With the ambitions to rank amongst the top 7 global mineral processors by 2030, the kingdom is poised to anchor allied supply chains. Mineral processing is highly energy intensive. As the data shows, the kingdom has the most ambitious renewable energy targets in the Gulf. This is important for mineral processing. For example, processing rare earths can require 9 to 13 times more energy than extraction. That makes Saudi Arabia's energy advantage decisive. Beyond its vast fossil fuel reserves, the kingdom is now home to the world's lowest cost wind and solar PV projects. The blend of cheap, scalable, energy makes Saudi Arabia uniquely equipped to host energy-intensive processing at global scale. Third, Saudi Arabia offers a highly competitive regulatory framework. In 2021, it enacted the Mining Investment Law, a sweeping set of reforms to attract global capital and streamline permitting. Mining licenses can now be secured in just 180 days, a sharp contrast to the 7 to 10 years it typically takes to permit a mine here in the United States. The speed, predictability, and investor friendliness give the kingdom a critical edge in the global race for project development. And finally, but certainly not least, Saudi Arabia's geography is a powerful asset. It is quite literally the center of the world. Sitting at the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and Asia, the kingdom is ideally positioned to serve as a regional processing hub, not just for its own concentrates, but for those from across the global south. In fact, Saudi Arabia would be the closest processing center for 5 of the top 10 countries attracting rare earth exploration in 2024: South Africa, Malawi, Uganda, Namibia, and Saudi Arabia itself. This makes the kingdom a natural bridge in a fragmented global supply chain and a vital link in the emerging rare earths network among allies. In short, from post-war oil diplomacy to next-generation minerals strategy, the U.S.-Saudi relationship is evolving in real time. Now let's turn to rare earths, the choke point where geopolitics meets industrial vulnerability. In April 2025, China's Ministry of Commerce retaliated against U.S. tariff hikes by imposing sweeping export restrictions on 7 heavy rare earth elements, materials essential to defense systems, clean energy technologies, and advanced automotive manufacturing. Had a huge impact. Global automotive manufacturing quickly began grounding to a halt. In the United States, Ford was forced to shut down production of its Ford Explorer for a full week due to supply chain shortages. In Europe, the European Association of Automotive Suppliers sounded the alarm, confirming that multiple supplier plants had halted operations as export controls took effect. Japanese automakers weren't spared either. Both Nissan and Suzuki reported major disruptions, with Suzuki suspending production of its Swift model entirely. These cascading production stoppages underscore a hard truth. The world remains dangerously exposed to rare earth supply chain disruptions, and China retains overwhelming leverage over these critical inputs. Rare earth elements have been a cornerstone of the Trump administration's domestic and international policy agenda. Domestically, the U.S. government, through the Department of Defense, has announced a series of significant interventions to bolster the nation's rare earth supply chain. Most notably, it will become the largest shareholder in U.S.-based rare earth miner MP Materials by purchasing $400 million in preferred stock. In addition, the Department of Defense has committed to establishing a price floor for rare earth elements, constructing a second permanent magnet manufacturing facility, and directly procuring a share of domestically produced magnets to support industrial and defense applications. But President Trump has also integrated rare earths into key foreign policy discussions, including those involving Ukraine, Greenland, and Saudi Arabia. In May 2025, during President Trump's visit to Riyadh, MP Materials cemented an important MOU with Maaden to integrate the rare earths value chain from mining and processing to the production of permanent magnets. Both companies bring significant capabilities to the table. MP Materials is the United States' only rare earths producer at scale. Now, let's turn to see what Saudi Arabia has. As the map shows, Saudi Arabia has significant deposits of rare earths. And in fact, Saudi's big advantage is it has heavy rare earths that China restricted earlier this year, giving it both the resource base and now the partnerships to emerge as a pivotal player in global supply chains. And with that, I'm honored to be joined by Bob Wilt, CEO of Maaden, joining us live from Riyadh to discuss this further. Bob, great to have you.
Great to be here, Gracelin.
Bob, what can you tell us about the new MOU signed between MP Materials and Maaden?
Yeah, as you mentioned, when President Trump was here in the kingdom in May, it coincided with the culmination of a lot of work we'd been doing, screening potential partners and through diligence and selection. And we came to the conclusion that MP was the was the preferred vehicle to help us enable the development of the rare earth value chain in Saudi Arabia. So it just so happened that they were here at the same time as President Trump, and we were able to solidify the framework agreement through a memorandum of understanding that actually is a little bit further along than just a typical MOU. So it's certainly not just symbolic. It is a full-fledged partnership in the making to utilize our resources, their technology, our internal capacities, and their capabilities to bring this value stream online in a fairly rapid manner.
And Bob, what is Saudi Arabia's comparative advantage? Like, why is this MOU gonna, and what comes after it, meaningfully going to have an impact on rare earth supply chains?
Well, you talked about it earlier. Obviously, the first thing people talk about is energy, and certainly we have one of the lowest cost energy asset bases globally. Logistics, to say we're in the middle of the world is an oversimplification. It's true, but even the infrastructure to build out our logistics network in the largest mining jurisdictions globally, Saudi Arabia already ranks third in the logistics producer indexes for rail, port capabilities, roads, et cetera. So getting access to the minerals to the processing facilities and back out, that infrastructure already exists. The feedstock, in addition to energy, sulfur is a byproduct of the oil industry, and it's a critical feedstock for minerals processing. So the availability of low-cost, competitively priced sulfur makes us a great jurisdiction for processing as well. You talked about the mining law that went into effect and the ease of doing business. We are aligned with the top level of the government, what they want to do. So we are totally in line with Vision 2030. So ease of doing business with Maaden in Saudi Arabia for a critical strategic initiative such as this makes it very possible.
And Bob, when do you think you're going to be bringing rare earths into production? I mean, I think, right now we're at a global pinch point, and the big question is how fast can we do it?
Well, as everybody knows, the project life cycle of some of these projects is long, but as we've tried to explain to the government, and especially the senior leadership of the government, they won't accept typical traditional timelines. So everything we're doing, we're bringing technology to bear, we're shortening timelines, we're shortening licensing requirements, et cetera. So we think we can have separation on the ground in 30 months.
30 months would be one of the most ambitious timelines ever executed in the mining industry.
Well, that's what people need to understand about Maaden and Saudi. Everything we're doing is of unprecedented scale and speed. If you think about what we have to do as the mining company for Saudi Arabia, we will be growing at least 10 times from where we were a year or so ago in the next decade. That is a deployment of capital unseen in the industry, with the exception of a brief period, 5-year period, where maybe BHP or Rio rivaled the level of spending we're getting ready to embark upon. Except they did it for 4 years. We're getting ready to sustain that level for 15 years. So the exploration program you talked about, it's already the single largest exploration program in any single jurisdiction. We think we've taken the timeline from target identification to inferred resource from 10 years down to 4. The project development and the construction, we don't have the permitting issues that a lot of jurisdictions do. So getting the permits, getting the stakeholders in place, that's already well taken care of. So now it's just a matter of execution on the project plans we have in front of us, which is a daunting task and keeps us up at night. But massive speed, massive scale, simultaneously, all the while maintaining high sustainability standards, worker safety standards, world-class governance, financial prudence, et cetera.
Bob, when you entered this MOU with MP Materials, you chose to work with an American company. Now, there are Australian, American, Chinese firms in this space. Why did you choose an American company, and particularly one that's now partially owned by the Department of Defense?
Well, I could give you a flippant answer and say, well, look who they hired to run their mining company. But that's not the case at all. We actually ran a very objective process where we screened and worked with the top 7 major rare earth element miners and producers and processors globally. We narrowed the list based on a lot of criteria, IP protection, technology capability, et cetera. And MP rose to the top of the list. They've demonstrated they've got the ability to mine and process rare earth. They've got the willingness to come and partner with Saudi Arabia. They've got the right structures in place. And now I think with the support of the US government, that even accelerates their ability to come help us in Saudi Arabia.
And finally, one last question for you. What do you see as being the future of US-Saudi cooperation on critical minerals? You've been in and out of the kingdom for the better part of 35 years now.
Yeah, so when you talked about the Oil for Defense Pact, I was in Desert Storm and I came over here with 500,000 of my closest friends in 1990 to help defend the kingdom when it was under threat during those days. Then I came in the mid 2000s and helped establish the aluminum joint venture with American company Alcoa, which I was part of at the time, to build the aluminum industry here. So I think the history is long. It's a trusted relationship. It's a valued relationship on both sides. And I think as Saudi Arabia continues to grow its competitive advantage, establish more minerals, more value chains, not only in existing phosphate, aluminum, and gold, but we expand into copper, lithium, and rare earths, we'll be a valuable trading partner and trusted ally with the U.S.
And it's clear that the partnership with Saudi Arabia, particularly on mineral processing, has received bipartisan support. We saw officials from the Biden administration endorse it, and we've obviously seen the Trump administration be extremely supportive. Bob, thank you so much for joining us from Riyadh today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And with that brings us to the end of this episode of Mapping Minerals Diplomacy. In future episodes, we'll explore how other countries are shaping their minerals diplomacy strategies and how the U.S. can better deploy its tools to compete. Thanks for watching. I'm Gracelin Baskaran. See you next time on Mapping Minerals Diplomacy.